Alright, as promised, we are here. Post Mark Cerny video. Once again, forgive my yawns, I'm sleepy. What are my thoughts on the PS5 spec reveal? Well, it went as per the GitHub leaks, and per my video yesterday, I predicted it. It's a 36 CU card, GPU, whatever. Now, what can be interesting about this, or what kind of is different than expected, is that they upclocked the GPU to 2.23 gigahertz, but let's go ahead and refer to this panel. It has a nice tidy panel. But that's a boost clock. And at full boost clock, 2.23 gigahertz, it's 10.28 teraflops, which sounds pretty good. But here's the question you have to wonder, is that just a PR spec? Because the difference between, 9.8 teraflops and 10 for PR purposes is great, You wanted to get over that double figure threshold if you're Sony. Oh, we've got 10 teraflops, it sounds a whole lot better than we've got 9 teraflops. So, but the question is, the boost clock, how often will it really be running at that speed? It certainly said something like most of the time. But you have to figure Sony, of course, is going to give you their spin. They're going to give you their sugarcoating, and they're going to give you their, try to make everything sound better than it necessarily may be. So is that true? Just like any manufacturer would. Just like if Ford tells you something about one of their trucks, they're going to put their, best possible spin on it. But is it the truth, So I believe in a video, I don't think I saw it, but Cerny, I didn't watch the Cerny keynote because about a couple, literally about as the video came online, a couple minutes before, even Eurogamer had the specs, and that's all I cared about. I didn't care to watch Cerny's. I watched a little bit, but his boring stream, he just went on and on about the SSDs and the philosophy, and they talked to developers. I just wanted the specs, and I figured if there was anything really interesting out of Cerny's speech, it would come out, and I don't think there was anything. Where was I at? Oh, yes, I think Cerny said something to the effect of it runs the 2.23 clock most of the time, or his words might have even been almost all of the time. Something like that. But then, I guess if the heat and power get out of control, it can downclock. But I don't know, again, some people have said that they likely just, the boost clock is just for PR. They just wanted to give you a paper number over 10 so it wouldn't look so bad. And in real life, it's like a 9.2 teraflop machine. That really, it's going to be running at 2 gigahertz most of the time. But that's just speculation on all sides. I don't know who's right in that. Cerny claimed that like a 10%, what was it? A 2% reduction in clock speed or something like that, which would only be about 20 megahertz on a 2.2 gigahertz chip. It'd be like, 44 megahertz? Is that right? Yeah. Which would still keep it very high. It'd be like 2.19 or something like that. That a 2% reduction in clock gives you like a 10% reduction in power or something like that. That you don't have to cut clock much to get massive power savings. But again, he's putting the best fist forward. So basically all this to say, nobody really knows what kind of clock this PS5 is going to run at. All we know is that the very max it can run at is 2.23, and at that speed, it's running 10.28 teraflops. And you see the specs for the Xbox Series X. They didn't list the die size. They're gonna have 16 gigabytes GDDR6 at 448 gigabytes a second, whereas the Xbox Series X has 10 at 560 gigabytes a second and 6 gigabytes at 336. How they did the SSD was a little weird too. It was 1 terabyte versus 825 gigabytes. And then Sony's claiming 5.5 gigabytes raw SSD speed and 8 to 9 gigabytes compressed. Both figures are about double what you see here on the left for the Series X. I think a handy way to think of it is it's about double speed. So all that is 100% expected. We expected, Sony talked up their SSD a lot. We expected it was going to be faster than the Microsoft solution. My question is it going to matter? I don't know. Is it going to be a case of the Xbox loads something in 2 seconds and the PS5 loads it in 1 second? I don't care. I'll take the 2 seconds and the better graphics on the Series X version. And I think almost everybody would. Or is it going to be more noticeable? Is the Sony's figures, are they all smoke and mirrors? I don't know. The 825 gigabyte SSD, I think that is kind of annoying for them because you want big round numbers. Consumers are going to see, hey, the Xbox Series X is a 1 terabyte. PS5's got this weird 825 gigabyte. That's weird, They're going to prefer the big round number. And it will kind of reinforce to them that, hey, the Series X is just more powerful all around, in my opinion. But Sony said that the 825 gigabytes works better with their custom SSD situation, I guess. I don't know how else to put it. And again, that's going to put you pretty short on the PS5 storage space too, because games are getting huge. I mean, I played Destiny 2, and last I checked, it's 100 gigabytes, Games are frequently hitting 100 gigabytes and more now. It's crazy. So if you figure 825 gigabyte SSD, I mean, a couple hundred of that or something is going to be system, So you open that thing up, and actually I'm not sure exactly how much is taken up by the system on my Xbox either. But, I mean, I think it's at least 100, 200. So if you open that PS5 up and you're sitting on 625 gigabytes available, that's not a lot of games. Next-gen games are just going to get bigger. We're going to see, say, 150 gigabyte games. So you don't have a lot of room there on your PS5, So yeah, there's that. So overall, I don't know. The bandwidth is interesting because you can make a case in a weird way the PS5 is an advantage there. Not an advantage, but I worked it out, and you can figure the average bandwidth, right? And you can say that the average bandwidth, the PS5 only has, because it can do its 448 to all 16 gigabytes. So if you do a little calculation, you go 448, how did I do this? Or let's just 16, 448 divided by 16. I can't remember how I did this calculation. I can't be right. I think I did, let's say 448 times 16. So you can end up at 7168 there. It can get 448 gigabits a second. Now for the Xbox, it's getting 10 times 560, 600, plus 6 times 336. So you add that back to the 5600. It's getting that number, which is only a little bigger than the 7100. And then you figure that it needs to feed more teraflops. And you come out with that it's actually got less bandwidth per teraflop. You know what I mean? It's relative. But here's the thing on that. I'm thinking, first of all, 2.5 gigabytes of this, and it'll be the same on PS5. I know people they did this with PS4 too. They claimed the PS4 was hardly holding any memory back for the OS. And then it came out that the PS4 was holding like 3 gigabytes back for the OS. Just like the Xbox. Sony fanboys do this every gen. They're so stupid. They always act like Sony's going to hold less back for the operating system reservation, and it never happens, so just give it up. But Series X already announced they're holding back 2.5 gigabytes for the OS. So that leaves only 3.5 gigabytes of that memory. Obviously the OS memory is going to go to that slower speed. So they only got 3.5 gigabytes left for that slower speed, and I figure it's going to be all CPU stuff. They're going to hit that with the CPU, and you're going to have 10 gigabytes of super fast, fast-ass GPU stuff. And I like that. I think that could really work out in the real world, What you're going to end up doing is this is going to be your GPU memory, And it's going to be flying. Sony can't really match that, 560 gigabytes a second. So I don't know, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other, but this is definitely faster on the peak. Look at it this way, the fastest the PS5 can go cannot match this, CPU clock, again, the PS5 comes up short, only 3.5 gigahertz, and it says variable frequency. Xbox Series X gives you sustained 3.6 or 3.8 without multi-threading. If you're not familiar or techie, what that means is each of these 8 Zen 2 cores can run 2 threads. So you can have 16 threads. That's called SMT, which stands for symmetric multi-threading. So it's saying that if you use the 8 additional multi-threading, it'll only run 3.6. If you just use one thread on each core, it'll run 3.8. Whereas the PS5, it's just lower across the board. It's just saying 8 cores at 3.5. Variable frequency is in parentheses. To me, what that means, first of all, you see that it's a little slower. Maximum it's running 3.5. Whereas the Series X minimum is running 3.6, And then you see the PS5 can downclock a little from there. What I think it's mainly doing is, basically if the CPU is using too much power, it can scale it down so the GPU can have more. And so in order to hit this 10.28, you probably have to clock this CPU down to some extent. That's what I think is the main thing at play here. So, in practice, I'm thinking in order to get 10.28 here, you have to go down to 3.2 gigahertz here, or 3.0 gigahertz, or who knows what the number is. If you can even get it here, because it may be just too much power and heat to hit 10.28 at any stretch. What do I think about this in comparison to each other, which is what really matters? I think that the PS5 is a nice system. I think that it's a lot closer than the Xbox One was to the PS4 back in the day. You can just do the math on that. It's closer because it has closer flops. It has the same memory system, whereas the Xbox One original had a goofy ESRAM system that wasn't very difficult to work with and stupid on Microsoft's part. They had bad engineers back then. Don Matrix was terrible. But yeah, so that's that, and I'm already seeing the fanboys for Sony are really coming out, and they're trying to hit Series X. One thing they're really focusing on is this SSD. Again, I don't know how much it will matter. It's difficult to say. It may not, But they're hitting the fact that they have the SSD advantage, and they're already pushing out this bullshit about, it can do 22 gigabytes a second compressed and blah, blah, blah. I don't think it can. Really, or I don't think that has any meaning. They're noting that the PS5 has a higher clock speed, and apparently the ROPs would be the same. I think both of these are 64 ROPs. Render operating, or I don't know what they call them, but the back end, the pipes that draw shit, fill rate. So technically the PS5 would have more fill rate because that's just going by clock speed, I guess, if I understood correctly. I'm not sure about TMUs, which are text address units. I think the series, I'm not hearing about those, so I'm guessing Series X has more. Basically, there's an argument to be made that since this PS5 GPU is clocked higher, it's going to have more fill rate in theory, I guess, assuming they have the same number of ROPs, which I'm not 100% clear on, but as far as I know they do. They both have 64 ROPs. But yeah, it's not going to matter, especially because fill rate is generally also heavily tied to your bandwidth, and the Series X is more bandwidth, so, you know. But I'm already seeing fanboys on Reset Era being the annoying Sony fanboys, you know, trying to play up their advantages, talking about, oh, it has greater fill rate, you know, okay, that's like 1%, you know, it's not going to matter. So what do I think on this? You know, like overall, I think Sony did a really good job. I like both these systems a lot because the SSDs are going to be great. I think that's the thing I'm really been excited about since these consoles were announced. The SSDs are going to give you a great speed on both, you know. I'm really excited for that. No loading times. It's just great. And one cool thing about it is this is an area where the consoles are really ahead of the PC because they have dedicated decompression hardware. And they said to get the equivalent, like I think Xbox said their decompression hardware is equivalent to, I think they said 8 or 9 Zen 2 cores, I think. So, you know, a PC couldn't do this because it would use its whole CPU just to decompress that stuff. Whereas Microsoft could just put in a decompression block, custom hardware, and really go to town. And so you're going to see SSD speeds on these consoles the PCs absolutely cannot match, especially at first. And that's incredible, you know. That's to think that consoles have an actual speed advantage over PCs in any area is pretty amazing. And that's just over the fastest PCs. Because Sony also said something like there's no NVMe PC hard drives right now that can even match what's in PS5. What the hell is this weird thing? Well, apparently my thing is still recording, so I'll keep going with it. I wonder if I ran out of memory or something. Anyways, so yeah, that's that. I don't really have a lot else to say. Like I said, I think it's closer than last gen, but I think that Sony's playing could be playing. It's hard to say without being a developer, but I think they could be playing a bullshit game of trying to make it seem like they have more flops than they do with the boost clock. As I said, I really like both of these systems. I mean, I think the Xbox Series X is obviously better and more powerful, but I think their PS5 is a solid system too. It'll be fun to see where the pricing ends up. I think that's huge. I think how Lockhart plays into all this for Microsoft is huge because I think it could really screw them up. Personally, I think Lockhart needs to never come out right now. I mean, they've got Sony right now in the spot they want them. But Lockhart could screw everything up because they got to support Lockhart. You know, it's the lowest common denominator. It's going to hurt them. I don't want to see that. So I think they should just scrap Lockhart. But as it stands now, and pricing will be really interesting. Sony, you know, everybody's saying now since they're weaker, oh, they're going to come in at $399. Who knows? They might be the same price. That's the thing. We don't know. They might be. I'm thinking there will be a $50 difference at most. I could see the PS5 coming in at $399 and the Series X coming in at $449 or something like that. It could be $449 PS5, $499 Series X. Actually, I think that's more likely, especially with this coronavirus stuff going on, driving up prices. But I think Series X is in a great position here. They've got more power. They're going to be, probably the price difference will not be much. Another thing is Sony had to use, there was an article in Bloomberg that mentioned Sony had to use really expensive cooling. And they're going to get into that later on a teardown of this PS5. But the point is that expensive cooling is going to drive the price up. They had to have that expensive cooling to hit this 2.23 gigahertz. You know? because they were stuck here at 36 CUs because they'd already made it, and it takes like 2 years to make a chip. They couldn't start over, you know. So they were stuck with 36. So they had a clock as high as they could, so they ended up having to do really expensive cooling. So that's going to hit you in the bottom line, you know. So we'll see. I'm kind of disappointed they didn't show the form factor of the PS5. I thought they would. And I thought it would have that V form factor, like the dev kits, which I think is really cool, actually. Yeah, so that's where I'm at. I think these consoles are amazing. You know, 12 teraflops, that's like a 2080, an NVIDIA 2080. People have done kind of the math on it. And it should be, given what an RDNA 2 chip can do now and a 5700 XT, or that's just an RDNA 1 chip, actually. But, I mean, given everything, I haven't worked through the numbers myself. But given everything, RDNA 2 performance increases, it should be at least like a 2080 in the Series X. I think it's more like a 2080 Ti, but let's just take what everybody else is saying right now, because I haven't looked into it myself, and say it's a 2080. I mean, that's a badass GPU. That's a powerful GPU, boy. So put a 2080, 16 gigs of RAM, the custom SSD stuff they're doing. Man, these consoles are advanced, boy. They are powerful. They are advanced. It's very exciting. It's good stuff in my opinion, especially for the One X and even for the PlayStation 5 there. These are fast machines, and it's very exciting. All the stuff Microsoft is doing with their less latency in the controller stack and all that is very exciting. I can't wait to see games. Like ray tracing could be an issue. People are saying that it seems like ray tracing on AMD cards is behind where NVIDIA's at, and we all know NVIDIA's struggled anyway. And there's kind of a thought that ray tracing is not ready for prime time yet. Like if you buy a mainstream card like a GTX 2060, it's not really fast enough to support ray tracing, even though it technically has ray tracing. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. I think that's an interesting thing to watch with these consoles, how much ray tracing we're actually going to get. I think people analyze the Minecraft demo that Microsoft showed, and it's not that impressive in terms of what they're doing and the frame rates it was running at compared to what's on PC. I think that they were saying it might be like 2060 level ray tracing, which stands to reason. AMD's probably behind NVIDIA there, so it'd be like a 2080 level card with 2060 level ray tracing maybe. But whatever, I'm excited. It's going to be awesome. Ray tracing will be cool. We'll finally get a good amount of it. Man, I can't wait for these systems. They're going to be great. I'm going to buy them day one. They're going to be neat. And can't wait to see some games. And yeah, PlayStation 5 is confirmed as less powerful. I'm really tired tonight. I don't feel like doing a troll, so I'll probably make my troll video later on. This is more of an actual tech dive. And, you know, I guess just to say that Xbox One, you know, it's more powerful than PS5. That's all you can. I don't care how you slice it any which way up or down. It's more powerful than PS5. And as an Xbox fanboy for a long time, that thrills me. I love the CPUs in these consoles. I forgot to mention that. I love the SSDs. And I can't wait. It's going to be great.